I was 26 years old. We had just moved from the only home we had ever known in Indiana to here, Fort Myers, Florida, with just $9,200 in our pocket to start Next Level Church. To say we were underdogs is an understatement. One night, my wife Sarah and I were on a date at the Bell Tower movie theaters. We were seeing Star Wars 1, and I remember sitting at the top of the movie theater, and I looked at my wife and I said, you know, this would be an incredible place to have church. I wonder if they would let us meet here. So this is where it all began. I'll never forget the day a manager gave us a tour. I think I was wearing pleated khaki pants. We toured a bunch of the theaters and we decided on using the smallest one to have church in, but on that day, I remember walking through the largest theater. I think it had 280 seats, and saying to my wife, can you imagine being a part of a church that could fill a room like this? We had no idea what God had in store for this little underdog church. So this underdog theme has been a consistent message throughout my entire life. And what I've discovered is every single one of us can relate. Every one of us feel like an underdog in some area of our life. In my book, God of the Underdogs, we're going to look into the lives of some of the most famous Bible heroes of all time and how they felt like underdogs. We're going to look at people like King David and how he didn't feel qualified enough. Men like the great Apostle Paul, who felt like his past was too bad to be able to be used by God. People like Gideon, who felt like his resources weren't enough. People like Esther, who felt like the odds were stacked against her. People like Jacob, who felt like the labels that he wore on his life could never be overcome. Jesus, who felt like no one recognized his potential, or John the Baptist, who felt like his dream was too radical to be taken seriously. Every person that God used in a great way in the Bible was an underdog who had to overcome an underdog excuse to be used by God and change the world. My hope for the God of the Underdogs book is that every person who picks it up and reads it would know that they're not alone, that someone can relate, and that they would know that God's given them the ability to overcome every excuse in their life, to live their destiny, and to change their world.